Welcome to your DC area real estate market report for February of 2025. I'm Edward Slavis of the Slavis Group of LPT Realty, and a lot has changed in the world since our last update. To cut right to the point, there are a lot of reports on social media talking about how the real estate market is tanking and how hundreds and thousands of new listings are rushing to the market. Do not believe it. As of today, February 18th, the market is doing just fine. There's nothing out of the ordinary, and I'll walk you through it with some of the numbers in our report. So first, we'll start with interest rates. Interest rates are still right around 7%, which is more or less where they've been now for the better part of the last several months. This is the national average according to bank rate. We have clients that are now regularly seeing 6.5. We just saw the first client that saw a sub 6 with no points, which was really, really amazing. So our clients are getting much, much better rates than this. But overall, the national average is still around 7%. If you're curious what you would qualify for, whether you're buying or refinancing, let us know and we can introduce you to one of our preferred lenders. Now, the social media reports are that thousands and thousands of people are listing their homes, presumably because they lost their job or maybe they think the market's going to tank and they're trying to get ahead of the curve. This chart shows the new listings in the DC metro area the last 3 years broken down by month. January of 2025, which is the rightmost column, is 7%. There were 7% fewer listings than January of 2024, which had fewer listings than January of 2023, which had fewer listings than January of 2022, which were fewer than January of 2021. So no, there were not a slew of new listings flooding the market in January. As of February 14th, a local publication, Urban Turf, had produced the numbers in the first half of February. In Washington, D.C., the total number of new listings was 7% higher in the first half of February than the first half of February last year. So 7% lower in January, 7% higher in February. That is a wash. Now, that was just in D.C. If you looked at what was in Bright MLS, all of Bright MLS saw 1% fewer listings in the first 14 days of February than of last year. So we are not seeing a flood of new listings. Now, that said, I have been predicting a flood of new listings for a while because there is so much pent up inventory of people that would have sold if the market were stronger. This is that same chart of new listings of year-over-year changes. And as you can see, there were some months that were 40% fewer than the previous year for new listings. We've seen a few months now that have been higher, as high as 20% in some months. 7% less here in January, but these are very, very low numbers because if you look, there were far fewer listings this year than the previous year. And if you go back to 2021, they were considerably higher because rates were low and there's a lot more inventory that was being sold. So even if we see a 20% increase in February or a 20% increase in March, that's a 20% increase off of a very low baseline because February and March had far, far fewer listings last year than they did in previous years. So it's all a question of what you compare it to. But in terms of number of new listings, we're not seeing anything out of the ordinary at all. For median home sale price, I now broke this out into red for detached homes, blue for all properties, and yellow for condos. And you can see for the median home sale price, for the homes that successfully sell, in the DC metro area, all three of those lines are trending upwards. There are some drops here, but again, that's seasonal, higher in the spring and summer, lower in the fall and winter. And that's the common trend you see as it slowly climbs up. And year over year, again, everything higher than this solid black line means it was higher than the previous year. So overall, prices are marching steadily upwards. Price per square foot, same exact shape of those lines. All three generally trending upwards. The year-over-year change, almost everything is above that line, which means the homes in January of 2025 sold for higher than the January 2024, which were higher than January 2023, which were higher than January of 2022, okay, in terms of price per square foot. So everything is marching slowly upwards. In terms of the closed sales, however, are down. right? So there are fewer homes that are selling, but those homes are still selling for great prices. Fewer homes this year than the previous year than the previous year. And year over year, almost everything is below this line. What we've seen recently there are several months now that were higher than last year. So this actually is a little bit higher than this year, but considerably down from 2022. So are these higher? Yes. Not by that much, but again, this was a low baseline of sales. But overall, the number of closed sales is increasing. Now, the number of closed sales or the number of new listings is somewhat meaningless because you need to know the supply and the demand. So if there are 100 new listings, I want to know, are there 1,000 buyers or are there 10 buyers? Because one is a red hot seller's market and the other is a depression. So months of supply helps us balance that supply and demand. It is a measures what we call the absorption rate. How fast buyers are absorbing the inventory is the term. If you have 10 properties and 5 sell per month, you have 2 months of supply. The lower the number, the better for sellers. The hotter the seller market, the higher the number, the better for buyers, the more of a buyer's market. Generally speaking, anything below 3 is a seller's market. Between 3 and 5 or 6 is balanced, and above 5 or 6 is a buyer's market. Now you can see here, everything was 1 or lower. Climbed higher, rates increased, and this is broken down by quarter. Rates increased in quarter 2 of 2022, and everything has slowly climbed. All properties now at about 2 months of supply. Condos are about 2.5 months of supply. Which means all over the DC metro area, by months of supply, it is still a seller's market. Now, this is, again, the entire metro area. What matters, if you're thinking about selling, is what is in your exact market. Because we can go and show you some charts where we'll pull the months of supply for your type of home, say condo or detached home in your zip code. And sometimes we've seen it where it's still at 1 month of supply, just as hot of a seller's market as ever. And other times it looks like a hockey stick, where it's 1 month, 2 month, 1 month oscillating. March of 22 comes and all of a sudden it's at 7 or 8 or 9 months of supply. So we went from a seller's market to a buyer's market. We can easily look up these numbers for you for your particular property if that would interest you. But as we look at this months of supply increasing, I also want to put this into perspective. This is the exact same chart, but instead of going back 3 years, it goes back 10. I was in real estate for this entire chart. Now I can tell you, back here we thought it was a pretty darn good market. There were plenty of buyers, plenty of sellers, inventory was moving. It got hotter and hotter and hotter. Rates kept decreasing. All of a sudden here they're basically giving away money. This in a way was a artificial drop here because I don't think we'll see rates that low again. I don't want to say in my lifetime, but anytime in the near future. I think it's really, really unlikely. So this is still at 2 months of supply, which is a seller's market. Yes, it's higher than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, but it's in par with what it was 2000, say 17, 18, 19, and is half of what it was in 2014 and 15. So again, it's a question of taking these numbers and putting them in context. This says it is still a seller's market, but more balanced than it was before. And if more inventory comes on and the buyers aren't there, months of supply will increase and they will become more of a balanced market, more advantageous for buyers. But this also, the caveat is this varies drastically based upon neighborhood to neighborhood and then type of property, whether a detached home, row home, or a condo. Those all matter greatly in the months of supply. This is also looking at closed sales for the last 10 years. Again, taking a wider view. And you can see this is broken down by quarter. So you have spring and summer quarters much higher, drop down to winter, and keeps climbing. Yes, there are fewer sales now, but it's not that much lower than it was 10 years ago. Okay, although that is lower. So the number of homes that are selling is right now at a 10-year low. So what does this all mean? Are more homes being listed? No. They're slightly higher than last year. I'm sorry, they're on par with last year. However, the prices are still increasing, both in price and price per square foot, whether a detached home, row home, or condo. Again, that's DC wide. What is it for your particular home or neighborhood? Let us know and we can provide that information. So if you're thinking about selling, you still will get the house you want for your home if it is properly priced. Those higher prices are only for the homes that successfully sell. So if your home is not prepared well, it's not marketed well, it's not going to sell for the price that you want. It is still a seller's market based on months of supply, again, with the caveat that we have to look into that for your neighborhood. If you're curious about any of this, contact us for a private evaluation. Of course, we would love to offer you a consultation. For buyers, we still say now is the time. Relatively speaking, you have more leverage now with higher months of supply than you have in the last several years. Yes, rates are higher, but rates are coming down. We've now seen a buyer get a sub-6 loan, which is great. And almost anyone that's bought since March of 2022 bought with the thought that they will be refinancing as rates come down. So that is always, of course, an option. Through our preferred lenders, you can refinance at no upfront cost within the first 3 years of that mortgage. That's very, very valuable. Prior to March of 22, when rates increased, when people said that they're looking for a deal, we used to always say, half jokingly, but really quite seriously, the deal you're getting is on the interest rate. You're going to pay a higher price, but you're getting an amazing rate. You'll never see rates this low again. Now it's easier to find a deal on the price. You're just going to pay a slightly higher rate. But again, that rate can and will come down as you refinance. We still offer our buyer satisfaction guarantee. If you have any questions about this, by all means, just please let us know. That is your real estate market report, for February of 2025. Any questions at all, please let us know. And if you're thinking about buying or selling in the DC area, Maryland, Virginia, even now West Virginia, we would love to be a resource for you. Thanks for watching. Take care.